Hey Chad, how was your trip, your travels?
Well, Jared. So it's been the long Labor Day weekend, and it has come and gone. But my travels were fantastic. Took a little camping trip to the east side of the state. I think I mentioned on the pod before one of the reasons why I got Buddy, the transit van, was to see more of the state of Michigan, and I have been doing just that. And so I was at Pontiac Lake Recreation Center where we actually recorded our episode about camping, but then I went further east after that, and I learned, Jared, speaking of weird names and mispronouncing them, it's not Algoniac, it's Algonac. So thankfully I befriended the family at the campsite next to me at Lake Pontiac, and I heard the guy say Algonac before, like an idiot, I said Algoniac. So
That actually makes sense, though. I mean, that's just how it's phonetic. You just added the Spanish Nunye to it.
Right. Well, and I put the stress on the O and not the Algonac instead of Algoniac.
I got you.
Algonac, I guess is how you would.
Algonac makes sense. I like I like how you
The
took it
added
to the next
Enye?
level. And you're like, this is probably a Spanish originated town,
Right. Right.
Based on my extensive knowledge.
Exactly. But it was beautiful.
You should have corrected
man.
the guy.
It was the weather was great, and it was awesome.
It was great.
What?
I said it was great. I agree with you.
Really was. And as we mentioned in our Labor Day episode, I mean, one of the beauties of Labor Day is to enjoy that beautiful, summer transition to fall weather where it's not crazy hot, but also not really cold. And yeah, I could not have asked for better camping weather. It was a great time, man. Thank you so much for asking. And it did make me want to hop over to Canada, though. So one of these days, we might have to do an untranslatable on the road again and visit our brothers and sisters in Canada.
Have you never been to Canada before?
I've been with you to Windsor for formal before, dude.
Oh, right. Yeah. That was a good time.
That's a lot of fun. And I took my my buddy David from Germany and my friend, we've had her on before, Annabelle. We all went to Windsor when they came for Christmas like 3 years ago or so. It was great.
What do you do if you're not a college kid that is 19 or over, excited to be able to drink legally at a bar? What do you do in Windsor? There's one Italian restaurant I used to love to go to. I can't think of what it's called right now, but I do like it.
We got some great shawarma when we were there. There were like quite a few decent shawarma spots in Windsor. I'm not really sure, man. I mean, we just made a quick little day trip and kind of drove around.
I gotcha.
Didn't really do anything. I mean, I feel
it's exciting that Canada's right there.
Right.
But Windsor's not really an exciting place, unfortunately. You didn't take him to the casino?
We didn't. No, we didn't.
Hit the slot machines?
I think the thing is, if you're going to make a trip out of Canada, you have to go to like Toronto, like you did before.
Yeah. Which is not bad. I mean, Toronto's the same distance as Chicago, at least time-wise it is. I don't know
Right.
about, actual distance. So, yeah. But yeah, no, just curious because I've been there before and I'm like, well, Spago. Besides Spago, I don't really know what else I'm going to do while I'm here, so.
Yeah, well, gambling's one thing, or maybe hit the nightclubs, because we used to do that. But that's also more of a college kid thing, I guess. We're getting old, Jared. What can I say?
You're not interested in nightclubs anymore?
Not really, no. I mean, a bar, okay, but yeah, just going to a club, man. I don't know.
I feel like I can still picture a time in my life where you'll be dragging me to some sort of club I don't want to go to.
Maybe. If we do some traveling abroad again, it'll probably happen again. I mean, never say never, Jared. That's for sure.
Hey, I have a question. Do you still have your ears to the ground on what's happening culturally in China these days at all?
Oh, I do, and I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to talk about that today.
I'm curious about it because China banned kids from playing video games during the week, or like certain hours during the week, or they have like a limited amount of time they can play or whatever. This is not the first time they've done something like this.
Right. Well, speaking of video games, Jared, one of the reasons why consoles aren't really big over there is I don't know if they banned consoles, but they definitely, like, consoles are way more popular, I think, in Japan, South Korea. In China, it's mostly computer games. So it was really funny when I was still teaching at the university in China. I ended my contract, unfortunately, in July was when it ended. But before that, when I was still in contact with a lot of my students, they would always ask me about gaming. But the thing is, I'm not a PC gamer. I have a console. I have a PlayStation. So it was always really interesting to talk to them about games and video gaming because for them it was always computer, PC based.
Yeah, for a while. Hold on. From I have it written down here. From 2000 to 2015, video game consoles were banned for the most part. But there were some loosenings of the restrictions during that time. Like PlayStation 2, 3, one of those two, became available during that time period. I think 2004, so that must have been PlayStation 2. And I think it loosened as the time went along. It wasn't just like a straight up ban, but there still was like a hard to find games and stuff like that. So even though it might not have been a full on ban, it was still not easy to come upon,
and probably more expensive, I would bet too, to like get your hands on a console.
So when you were to talk to your students, they would have no hesitation to talk about how much they love video games.
Oh, not at all. I had quite a few students who are huge. I don't know. Can you say the term gamer head? Is that a thing, or just gamer?
You could just say gamer.
Yeah.
Right? You don't really have that head
right,
to it.
That's true. But yeah, they were big time gamers, and it was always funny because usually the first week of classes, even when I was teaching virtually, we would always do like little icebreakers, get to know you activities. And a lot of my students were really big into Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. A couple students of mine were big FIFA fans, so I kind of talked to them about FIFA a little bit and which players and teams they like to use. Also, I had two students that were big Red Dead Redemption fans, which I also love that game, so we nerded out on RD2.
I heard that game is fun, but there's too much walking around or horse riding around. You got to do.
It's yeah. Well, see, the thing is with that game, Jared, is you have to get to a point where, and I think it might only be after you beat the game, where you can quote unquote fast travel, and that's when it starts to get fun because you can just set up camp and then you can go to different cities. You don't have to ride the horse all the way there. But
yeah. I used to be an Assassin's Creed head, as you would call it, and you had to travel to all these faraway places once. But once you got there and like unlocked some sort of achievement when you got there, then you could fast travel to it. So all these faraway places you did have to go to once. But then it's like, all right, now you got to go back to where you came from. You don't have to go all the way back. You can now fast travel back. China. So here are the rules, by the way. China has barred online gamers under the age of 18 from playing on weekdays and limited their play to just 3 hours most weekends. 3 hours for kids these days
is nothing.
Exactly. Marking a significant escalation of restrictions on the country's massive gaming industry.
Yeah.
Starting this week,
too, Jared, how that will affect professional gamers, because I'm sure there are some professional gamers in China, and like any profession that's more like, kind of practice based, or even, I think professional gamers in some ways are kind of like professional athletes in that they have to practice a lot. They have to keep up on their skills, right? And so I wonder how that will affect them.
I agree with you about the professional aspect, but it is for kids,
Right. Oh, true.
So,
that's a good point.
Yeah, so if you're over 18, you're welcome to ruin your life as much as you want. I don't actually think it's ruining your life, but it seems like the Chinese government might feel that way a little bit. Starting this week, minors will be allowed only an hour of play time between 8 and 9 p.m. on Friday, weekends and public holidays, according to a statement from Chinese media watchdog, the National Press and Publication Administration, that was posted by state news agency Xinhao on Monday. The move represents a huge tightening of earlier limits set by the agency in 2019, which had restricted play to 90 minutes on weekdays and 3 hours on weekends for children. Authorities said that the restrictions were put in place to help prevent young people becoming addicted to video games. There's got to be a way around this, by the way. There's
probably
got to be. Much like VPNs allow you to do something, whatever you want with the internet.
However, even with VPNs, dude, I mean, I noticed around holidays when I was still living in China that my VPN would get throttled. So, like, the first week of October is, that first week, I think they call it, like, Golden Week, if I remember, or something like that, which is where they celebrate kind of the founding of China. I think also, I'm forgetting the name now of the holiday. But anyways, during that week, dude, I could not get my VPN to work whatsoever. So, and they do have crazy infrastructure over there in terms of monitoring, blocking, throttling VPNs and internet usage. Yeah. But like you say, Jared, like anything, there are probably some loopholes or some ways around it. I wonder too, what about like if you have like a Game Boy or a Nintendo Switch? Because I don't think those are those connected to the internet, or let me rephrase:
Right.
do they need to be connected to the internet for you to play them? Right?
Right. It must. The only way I could see that work. That's a good point. The only way it really works is if they're specific. You can only really, I guess, specifically clamp down on like online
Right.
play.
And even if you had
Because if
like
you
a
just-
PlayStation, if you don't connect it online, you could still play your games.
That's true. I've played games online, obviously. I've never in my own personal time by myself ever like gone online and played another person. It's always just been so if I were in China, this would probably have no effect on my
Right.
I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess I'll just keep playing by myself like I always do. Do you think video games are ruining children?
No,
Not just in China, but just generally
let me
speaking.
put it this way, Jared. Video games, no. I think if you do anything too much to ad nauseum, it's bad for you. Anything, even trying to do healthy things to a crazy degree isn't healthy in my opinion either. I mean, shoot, if you drink too much water, you could technically drown yourself. Anything in over excess is bad, including video games. But I grew up playing video games. I think I've turned out okay. I don't know. You may disagree, Jared. but I don't think, I think there are some good things about video games. I think some of them, there's some problem solving skills involved. If you're playing like a game, like an RPG game with other people, there's like communication skills and teamwork skills. So no, I think video games are something that kids and adults alike should be able to enjoy. But once again, just like with anything in life, Jared, moderation is important. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, I agree with you. I don't think video games are. I don't know. I kind of think maybe they are a little bit. I don't think they're ruining people in the sense that like it turns people into mass shooters or something like that, or make. I don't know about that part, but this is gonna sound this is gonna be the oldest thing I've ever said. It's perfect that I just turned a year older the other day because this is
happy
gonna be
belated
the oldest.
birthday, buddy! I'm a terrible friend and didn't even wish you a happy birthday.
I feel like we had this conversation last episode, and you said happy belated birthday last episode.
I might have.
Does that make you a worse or better friend that you
Probably
forgot
worse.
that you said it?
Worse, definitely worse.
I do think it I cannot believe I'm about to say this. That like kids don't want to go outside as much anymore.
Okay,
And
boomer. That does make you sound super old.
The allure to play outside is not there as much, I would say. And I don't know if that's great. But I don't think it's ruining kids in the way that I feel like. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, can I say this though too, Jared? At least since we're talking
Maybe it's not
about
ruining
China,
kids. It just makes me sad.
Sure. Well, when we were
ruining me.
kids, when we were kids, video games were around, but I just don't think they were as popular or as accessible as they are now. So it's just a different circumstance, I guess, growing up. I will say this though, Jared. I do think that a lot of kids in China do spend a lot of time outside. You see basketball courts all over the place in China. I always loved seeing the aunties, the grandmas and the grandpas with their grandchildren running around and playing outside too. You'd see that. So I think they're still getting outside.
Just staring at their watches, waiting for the time 8 o'clock to come so they can go play video games.
Right.
Let me just run in circles for 3 hours, and then finally I can play video games for 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. I understand that people do go outside in China. I'm not doubting that. Thank you for clarifying that people do actually go outside in China. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if this stuff. Works. I don't know what working even would look like for something like this.
It'll be interesting to see. While we're on the topic of China, though, Jared, I wanted to talk to you about this. That's why I kind of got excited, because when you mentioned China, I thought you were going to talk about this. What I have in mind here, but totally cool that we also talked about video games.
Thank you.
So here's the headline for you, Jared.
Very nice.
China is banning written exams for young pupils. For young students. The ban isn't welcome news for some parents in the exam-obsessed country. And this article is from Vice. But basically what happened, Jared, is on Monday, the Ministry of Education in China has banned first and second grades for having to do written exams. And then older students should be given only one written exam at the end of every semester. And now this is what's interesting, though, Jared, and this is a broader policy that the Ministry of Education is enacting, which I think is really interesting. So the policy is being imposed as a part of a broader state initiative to reduce students' academic load. And the ministry said in an online statement in July, the government announced a ban on for-profit after-school tutoring, which we might have mentioned on the pod before. Basically, in China, that was a huge, very lucrative big business was for-profit after-school education. So training centers, language centers. It seems like English and math were the two really popular kind of focal courses or subjects after school. But now what I do like about this, though, Jared, is the government has said that the goal is to take some pressure off of the students, cut their parents' education spending, and ensure children's healthy growth. And I think that's really important. And I think other countries, ours included, the U.S. included, should be taking note of this, because I'm pretty sure we've done an episode on standardized testing before. And it's just not, I think it's not great for young kids, and there's so many things about, young students should be learning and doing things in the classroom. But I think a lot of these written tests and written exams, while they can be good later on for, just kind of seeing where your student's progress is at, for really young students, I find it to be a bit overkill. So I think this is something really good actually coming out of the Ministry of Education in China. And I thought it was really surprising, Jared. And I can tell you right now, I have some friends who are former colleagues in China that I'm sure when this first came out, they were kind of like, what in the world is this? So it's kind of interesting, though, because this has been a country that has been really focused on exams for quite some time now. I think since like the 80s, if I remember correctly. And it's nice to see some change. What are your thoughts on it, Jared?
I don't want to take tests, so I'm cool with it. What's the age where you're allowed to start testing the shit out of these kids?
I think after middle school.
So what age is that?
So that would be middle school. I think over there it's about, I think it's pretty comparable to middle school in the States. So that would be what, like 11, 12, 13?
Okay.
Somewhere around there, I think, which still is pretty young. I mean, they're still young children at that age.
Do we get standardized tests before that here in the U.S.?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Didn't we do
elementary school kids?
I'm pretty sure I did the MEPS, which is like the Michigan Education Assessment Program, if I remember correctly. And that was, I think, in like first or second grade, maybe.
Damn, you could test a first grader? Does that even mean anything?
I thought so.
Who looks at that and was like, now I know exactly the intelligence of this?
Well, you know what's sad about
grader.
that too, Jared, is I know the MEPS had some affiliation with schools funding. Like if students did poorly, and if like I remember teachers telling us, like, make sure you come to school this day.
I don't like a kid gives a shit about funding,
right?
I'm 6. What do you mean? What's funding? I don't know what that means.
Right.
I'm not concerned with the funding of the Dexter school, whatever.
Dexter school system. Right.
Yeah.
So here is one comment though that was on Weibo, which is a popular social media platform in China. Someone commented, primary school is for laying the foundation. If children cannot learn and get used to written tests at this time and are not able to catch up later, whose responsibility is that? And I think the thing is here, Jared, is we're seeing backlash because it's changing the societal cultural norm. And traditionally in China, it was just very common for doing lots of exams. But I think hopefully what they may see in a few years is I really don't believe, for someone who works in education and has taught for, 6-7 years at this point, I don't think this is going to have a bunch of negative effects. Now, I haven't looked at the research, but I would assume that a lot of kids in first and second grade, I really don't think them doing a bunch of written exams is going to, stint their education in any way.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine that it really proves anything anyway about a child's potential or intellect at 6 years old or 5 years old or whatever. I don't know what information you could glean from that.
Right. So, Jared, before we get into our untranslatables, I wanted to talk about something that's kind of a hot topic right now in the U.S. And this is actually, I found out about this when I was talking to my my new camping buddies at the campsite at Lake Pontiac. So shout out to Scott and Ron, because they were the ones who were telling me about this. So if you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably heard about what's going on in Texas right now with their new ridiculous abortion law, which basically, if you are after 6 weeks, you cannot get an abortion from what I've heard.
Excuse me. Hold on. I didn't realize you were going to give a shout out to Texas. Let's start it off with the proper introduction. I didn't realize we were giving shout outs.
Well, first out, this isn't a shout out to Texas. This is a shout out to, I guess, Uber and Lyft. This would be a
this was a shout out to Texas. I
definitely not.
Misunderstood where you were going with this.
Definitely not a shout out to Texas. So the Texas abortion law has taken effect. I believe on September 1st is when it has. I don't know what's the right way to say this, is when it took effect, I guess. Basically, you can sue somebody, Jared, for aiding or attempting to aid someone to get an abortion after 6 weeks. Now, most people out there, well, I shouldn't say most people, most women out there don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. Like it's usually very, very rare. 6 weeks is pretty early. And so what Uber and Lyft has said, though, Jared, is technically, if an Uber or a Lyft driver drove someone to an abortion clinic on week 7, that Uber driver or Lyft driver could be legally sued for aiding or attempting to aid someone to get an abortion. And what Uber and Lyft has done is both companies have put out statements saying they are going to pay the legal fees of drivers sued under this new law. First of all, shame on Texas for having this law. I always find it interesting, Jared, that a state like Texas, where at least the stereotype I have in my mind, and granted, I've never been to Texas, but when we talk about Texas, a lot of people think of like quote unquote freedom, right? And the big thing, Texas is a very red state, very Republican or conservative, however you want to word it. And generally speaking, the conservatives or Republicans, they're all about small government, but then they're never about small government when it comes to things like abortion, right? And so I think this is one. It's a crazy law. It's a very harsh law. I think it's just going to put a lot of women in danger because just like everything we know, Jared, just because you make something illegal doesn't mean people are going to stop doing it, right? And so what this means is people are just going to be doing it, illegally, and this is going to put women in danger. And also these Uber and Lyft drivers in danger if they are helping these people out. But I think it's really great that both of these companies have taken a stand, spoken out against this. And here's a little quote from this article I have in front of me from the Business Insider. Imagine being a pregnant woman and trying to get to a healthcare appointment and not knowing if your driver will cancel on you for fear of breaking a law. Both are completely unacceptable, the rideshare company Lyft had said, which, yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you, in terms of Lyft or Uber, why they need to know why or where you're going, really. You know what I mean? Their job is to pick you up and get you there safely, and that's it. So I think this is a great thing to see from both companies. So I do want to give a shout out to Uber and to Lyft for helping these women out in Texas. And I'm going to give a little wag of the finger. Folks can't see it because we don't have video, but I'm wagging my finger here at all the lawmakers in Texas for making this egregious and ridiculous law. Like I said, it's going to put a lot of women in danger. And I just think it's terrible. So anyway, shout out to Uber and Lyft. Just wanted to say that. And so that's it.
Okay. Let's get into some untranslatables.
Let's do it. And untranslatables are idioms, proverbs, sayings, axioms that don't always translate on a one-to-one basis into English. And you want to get us started today, Jared?
Sure, Chad. My first one is Finnish, and it's speaking of Finnish, shout out to Kimi Räikkönen. He's retiring at the end of the season. Shout out to Bottas. That's Lewis's second, by the way, in Formula One. Finally, officially today, he got the axe from Mercedes. So at the end of the season, the season's about halfway through right now. At the end of the season, he'll be going to a different team that's not as good as Mercedes. Persaukinen. Ass wide open. My ass is wide open.
Oh, geez, I don't even know where to be. My initial.
Chad, I come to you and I tell you my ass is wide open. We're staying in. My ass is wide open.
Oh, it means you've got nothing to do.
My ass is.
I don't know why.
I
don't know why that. I don't know why that came to mind. The thing. I don't know why, Jared. But the other initial thing that came to mind was I'm all ears. Like I'm listening. But obviously, I don't think that's what it actually means.
I have nothing to do. No, it's not. I have nothing to do because my ass is wide open. There's this chick that I'm into, but I can't take her out because my ass is wide open.
I have no idea. Does it? Your ass is wide.
Oh wow! Look at that brand shiny new Porsche 911 GT3. Wow, in Miami blue. I'm gonna get that. Oh, but I forgot my ass is wide.
Oh,
open.
you're broke.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, I like that. Okay. I wonder where that one came from. Did they used to stash their money in their ass?
Yeah, it's prison lingo. That's what it is.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. My first one for you today, Jared, is Dutch.
His ass is wide open. He's got nothing.
That's right.
Ah, shit.
I'm going to start to use that if I'm like at a store, be like, oh, do you accept credit card? Because my ass is wide open. I don't have any cash right now.
So I'm just going to put this on credit and not pay this bill for about 3 years.
Exactly.
And hope for the best.
Exactly. So my first one for you today, Jared, is Dutch, and it is mag je borsten maar nat. You should be able to get the first word, mag.
I can, but that doesn't really help much.
Borsten is like bruste.
Okay.
And
you can just translate it for me. I'm not a Dutch
make your
expert.
chest wet, Jared.
Ooh, Chad.
To make your chest
like that
wet.
One.
And this is not a dirty
You're making
one.
my chest wet. Oh, I'm not being dirty. I'm just saying. You're making my chest wet. Ooh, my chest is a little wet. What's that about?
Let me see if I can give you a clue here, Jared.
I'm suspicious of you.
Well, let me say this, Jared.
I don't trust you.
I don't think. No, not quite. I don't
You
think.
make my chest hot. Sorry, go ahead. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm working through it.
Let me try to help you out here, Jared.
My chest is wet.
So
I'm curious. I'm
so
interested.
for example, Jared,
You've got my chest wet. All right, my chest is wet. Tell me.
So the students students in China,
not interested.
I would say the students in China won't have to make their chest wet until probably middle school or when they get older.
That's disgusting, Chad. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
Or another way to say this would be, maybe, Jared, you decide, we're talking about jobs for nomads today. Maybe you decide, you know what? I'm done with this house. I need to hit the road.
Get my chest wet.
And you're like, well, before I leave, though, I need to make my chest wet.
Get some money.
Nope.
Say farewell to my hose.
Well, I mean, I would hope you would do that, Jared.
Get my chest wet real quick before I ditch town.
This is a tough one. Let me
Shaniqua. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me just give this one to you. This one's a tricky one. It means to prepare yourself for a big task.
I feel like I must have said something like that somewhere.
I mean, saying goodbye to all your hoes is kind of a big task, Jared.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a very good point. So I'm going to say I got that right. I got to prepare for a big task.
Exactly.
Shaniqua, Veronica. I can't remember all the names. No, I can remember two of them. All right, I'll give you one more. And it's Finnish as well. Pour some out for Veltity. I mean, he's still in the game. I don't know why I'm pouring some out for him. Jutsen Kustu. Pissed while running. Pissed while running. And this is, I guess I'll lead you in a direction. Imagine the American use of pissed rather than, say, the British or Australian use of
so
pissed.
Angry.
No.
Isn't pissed angry? That's pissed off, I guess.
What else could pissed mean?
I mean, to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So you're going to the bathroom while you're running. Is it like to multitask? Or to be incredibly busy?
To multitask.
Like you're so busy you got to pee while you're running?
That's a good guess, but no, that's not it.
Okay.
But maybe if you got a lot of shit going on and you're busy, because of that, you might find yourself pissing while running.
Is it like to be overwhelmed?
When you're overwhelmed, you might have pissed while running on certain tasks.
Oh, to like make a mistake.
Yeah. Something that's poorly executed because you're in a rush.
Okay. Oh yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay.
So but which one would be poorly? I guess I don't even know how to piss and run. I don't even. That seems like a skill. Like you could get through that like a circus of some sort. That's a hard thing to do. Piss and run.
Oh, for sure. Well, and how do you not pee
impressive.
on yourself?
Yeah, well, I guess actually now that I think about it, like marathon runners, they'll like shit while they
Don't they wear like
while they
diapers or
run.
something?
I don't think so. That seems like there would be a big chafing issue.
Oh, that's
You've never
true.
seen videos of like
Of course I have.
brown? Okay,
Of course I have.
I don't think those people are wearing diapers.
No,
at
clearly
least.
not. No, wouldn't be running down their leg otherwise, Jared. That's for sure. Well, my last one for you today, Jared, is
Just
Tagalog.
imagine if Nike. Sorry, just imagine if Nike made like
Some diapers.
for long distance
Just do
runners. They're like a mix of compression short / diaper.
Surprised it's not
This
a
is
thing
for the
yet.
long distance runners,
Right?
Oh my god.
Oh man. Nike, if you're listening, there's
Sponsored.
there's a good idea for you. That's hilarious. My last one for you today, Jared, is Tagalog, and it is Binyagan.
Which is spoken in the Philippines?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Binyagan Nayan. Baptize it already.
Is that like finish it off?
I'll give it to you, Jared. Hit that ham horn. I'll give it to you.
Like
It means like just get it over with already.
Okay.
Just baptize
there
it
we
already.
go.
Like, come on, like just do it. You know, like if you were standing waiting to jump in the cold water, someone might be like, just baptize it already. Like just jump in already.
Yeah.
You know?
I was thinking of it in like a drinking means where someone's, there's always that person if you're like pre-gaming or something. The person's like, hold on. Like taking
Right.
like multiple sips. Like, no, I'm coming. Hold on.
Especially when the Uber pulls up. There's all those memes, when the Uber pulls up and you got like a huge wine glass like trying to
Just
chug it all.
baptize it already, guys. We're trying to get out of here.
Exactly. Well, Jared, let's talk about some jobs as a nomad. And the other thing I want to talk about today is not only some job ideas, but also kind of what you should be looking for, and also some places, because we are a travel podcast, not only a language podcast, but a travel podcast, and some good countries where you could go as a nomad. And the reason why I say nomad and not digital nomad is because digital nomad is a thing on itself, but there are certain jobs that you can do as a nomad that aren't digital as well. So I just want to be upfront with that. First of all, for those of you who maybe if English isn't your first language, a nomad is generally someone who, traditionally it was someone who I believe traveled with herds of animals and stuff, and did like hunting and foraging. Nowadays, a nomad is just someone who, usually doesn't live in just one set place. They tend to move around a lot. And I don't know, man. I mean, after doing some research for this episode, Jared, if I don't get a contract renewal, maybe your boy is going to go full nomad and do some work on the road or something. So first, Jared, I guess let's talk about what should people be looking for in terms of a job for being a nomad.
Are you asking me?
Yeah. What are some of your thoughts?
Oh, what? Hold on. What do you like? I feel like to be like a nomad worker, you have to. To me, it feels like you need a lot of money. That's just what I picture. Like it seems like something that sounds cool on social media, but in reality, it's like, yeah, but you have like a direct deposit from your parents every month of $10,000 that you just casually leave out when you mention the charms of living in rural France,
or a nice little trust fund. Exactly. Well,
your grandma whose royalty just passed away.
Exactly.
You didn't mention that part.
Your great uncle Cletus that you never met somehow had.
There's no way an Uncle Cletus is the person that's going to be leaving you millions. I will never.
You won't buy that. Fair enough. I will say this though, Jared. I do think being a nomad, you do need to for sure. Well, maybe not. I think generally, at least in Western society, yes, you do need some type of at least baseline saving saved up. However, it was really interesting. I met some people when I was in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, that their families were nomads, and I can tell you straight up that none of them were super wealthy, and they lived off the land.
But that's a little different.
Right.
That's a little different.
Right.
That's more of like a culture. It seems different to me. That's more like their families. I imagine have been living like that for a long time. And
Correct.
it's ingrained into how their families have lived.
Right.
This is not just like someone that's like, listen, I don't like corporate life. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of cubicles. You know.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%.
I want to work off of my laptop and just go somewhere. But yeah, I can understand that part. You think now you said that. Do you actually think being a digital nomad is a lifestyle you could and would be interested in living? Digital, not digital. Sorry.
Well, for me, it probably would be it would be a digital nomad.
Which is specifically just meaning you work some
remotely.
sort of online job.
Correct.
Okay.
Generally
And
speaking,
then,
though, from doing some
so you're
research.
No, please.
Generally speaking, Jared, from doing some research, a lot of the digital nomads that I've been like kind of looking into, a lot of them have 2 to 3 usually freelance type of jobs, right? So, so that's also worth mentioning.
Do you follow any sort of nomads or digital nomads on your social media accounts?
Not yet, but this has piqued my curiosity, and I'm gonna have to go out and find some for sure.
What would be the area of the globe that you would sort of point your compass towards as a nomad or digital nomad?
So that's a great question,
Chad
Jared.
the Nomad. Nomad Chad.
Oh, that
Start
sounds
your YouTube
good.
channel right now. Someone's about to take that.
Oh, that's true. Better
Google
buy that
that.
domain name and everything, Jared.
You don't have it in you to have a power. You do have it in you, but you won't do it. Have a powerful YouTube channel because I make a podcast with you. I know, but Nomad Chad is a great name.
It is. Is
Oh, someone has the Instagram account Nomad period Chad.
Okay.
But you could easily just do Nomad Chad without the period.
Okay, interesting.
Oh no, that exists too.
Yeah, that doesn't
That's
surprise
a
me.
Twitter account.
Okay.
But he has 56 followers.
Okay. Well, so Jared, the tricky thing about nomadic work is
Not
that
interested.
is
Sorry.
that
I love how you just pay no attention to what I say and just go back to like, all right, well, anyway, back to
well, what do you want me to say?
No. Sorry,
it's a Twitter person
please.
with 56 followers. I don't know what else.
I think it's a good idea. That's all I'm saying. But go ahead.
I agree with you. So the tricky thing about nomad work, though, Jared, is
Yeah.
depending on the company you work for, and I experienced this when I was looking at online English teaching jobs, which is like I'm not going to read through tons and tons of lists today, Jared. I promise you, and I promise our listeners. But when doing research for this episode, that was like one of the reoccurring jobs, at least if you're like a native speaker of English, is online English teaching. But here's the catch with that. With a lot of those companies, you actually have to be based in the U.S. or sometimes based in like China or Japan or wherever the company's out of. So
You have to be based somewhere.
Yes.
Regardless
Yes.
is what you found.
Yes.
Even if it's not the U.S.
Right. So that's one thing that I want all of our listeners out there who are considering doing a nomadic type of job or want to try that out. Make sure you do your homework and you know that if you have to be in the U.S., then okay, well now the U.S. is going to have to be doing your nomadic work. I will say this though, Jared, if it's me personally, I am not going to pick a job where it's going to limit me to stay in the U.S. as much as I love the U.S. I think there are some better countries to live and work as a digital nomad or nomad in general, because number one, if we're keeping it a buck, most places in the U.S. the cost of living is a lot higher than a lot of other countries. So cost of living is one factor to consider. Like as you mentioned with the trust fund people or having big amount of savings, most people don't have that. So
generally speaking, can I just ask real quick?
Of course.
As a nomad, digital nomad, whatever you want to call it, what do you picture personally? What do you picture personally as the amount of time you would say you would stay in a location before you sort of move on?
I think for me, it'd probably be at the minimum 3 days, maximum probably a week, unless it's a place I really, really like. Well, it depends, I guess. It depends.
I thought this was like months at a time.
Well, so that's the thing. It could also be months at a time if you're in. So, well, I was thinking.
I don't know if I want to move around that much. That sounds awful.
Well, like
every 3 days or week, you're trying to find a new hostel or a new hotel room.
Well, first of all, you forgot I have the camper van.
And there's a naked person behind you. Yeah, but you just talked about how America's not even a good place to do this.
Right. And I was thinking about if I was doing it in America with my camper. I should have clarified. If I was doing it in the States with my camper van, then it would be shorter stays. But no, if I was living abroad, like in Thailand.
So is that what you were talking about earlier? Sorry, I didn't even actually. when I heard it initially, I just assumed you meant going abroad. So initially, when you were talking about considering it, you were talking about more of a van lifestyle.
For now, yeah.
Oh, I totally misunderstood. I just immediately thought you meant like going abroad. I
Well,
didn't even think
so
about
that's the
van.
thing is I think most of us, when we think of those digital nomad type of jobs, we do think going abroad because if we're being honest, most people don't have a Transit Connect camper van that they could, live out of for a little while. So that
And
makes a difference.
I feel like a lot of people that are into this lifestyle. I don't want to say that. No, I'm not even gonna say that. I don't feel like I agree with that. I feel like the best way to make this sort of nomad lifestyle work for a Westerner like us which is why I could never do it, even though I fantasize about it. Maybe is that you need to have like an actual talent, whether that's like a writer, photographer, a Nomad Chad YouTube channel, maybe.
Right.
Those travel vloggers are huge on the internet. Nomad Chad. So I feel like that is why I could never really realistically see myself living that lifestyle. Also, I don't want to move around that much, to be honest with you. Wait, you never... Okay, hold on. You said if you were in the van, you would go be a 3-day to 1 week life, which still sounds awful, honestly. Living out of a van for just an undetermined amount of time, it sounds terrible. But if you were abroad, which is what most of us think, I assume that's crossed your mind living abroad.
Of course.
What would be the time frame that you'd consider there then? So we got the U.S. time frame.
So abroad, it would probably be, I would set up a home base somewhere and probably, rent an apartment.
Like an apartment?
Yeah,
okay.
I'd set up a home base somewhere. But then depending on, my schedule for work.
It's getting pricey already. It's already getting pricey.
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could probably rent, like in Bali, for example, Jared. In Bali, you could rent an apartment for a month for easily under $400 a month. And for online work, if you're making, especially if you're working for a company, especially in the U.S. where they don't require you to stay in the U.S., if you're living that U.S. salary life, I would say honestly, Jared, on 30 to 40 grand a year, which there are plenty of online jobs that offer that type of salary, you could live very comfortably in Bali.
You can manage a $400 rent and still go places.
Oh yeah, I would think so. And the other thing too about the working as a nomad, or in this case, it would be more of a digital nomad. You can also pick up other stuff if your income isn't sufficient enough, right? So it's not ideal, but we do live in a gig economy, anyways, Jared. So I guess you might as well embrace it and go full force.
As someone that is, you seem like you're interested in this nomad life. Have you done it? So you said no YouTube channel. So you haven't really done any sort of like personal research into this.
A little bit I have, because as well, I don't know if we've mentioned it officially on the pod, but pretty soon my first book that I'm co-authoring with a very good friend of mine will be dropping. So if we have some success with that, we're hoping to write some more books. So that would be one
potential. There's the talent aspect that I was just talking about.
Right.
You got it.
Yeah.
You're free.
Well, the other thing is too, as someone who has a degree in teaching English, I can do that almost anywhere abroad for the most part, which is also a big plus. Even tutoring. The tricky thing with that, though, Jared, is just making sure you're doing everything by the book and you're not breaking any laws abroad, because you don't want to get, if you get deported, that's going to kind of ruin your nomad lifestyle for quite some time.
What sort of laws do you think you might accidentally find yourself breaking?
Well, so if you're not on, for example, if you're living somewhere and you're not on the right type of visa, you technically, like, because I looked into.
Oh, I thought you meant like public intoxication.
No, I'm talking more about like making money. Also like taxes abroad can be.
I can't walk down the street naked here. What kind of country is this? I thought this is news to me. I feel like I should not be arrested because I'm just learning about this.
Exactly. But yeah, so I do want to talk about, though, Jared, in terms of, so we've talked about places abroad a little bit. I've mentioned Bali is a good place. I do want to mention, though, kind of some criteria that would, and actually I'd like to brainstorm with you, Jared. What do you think could be some good criteria for selecting a place if you wanted to live out that nomad lifestyle for a while, even if it was for half a year to a year? Can
you ask me the question again? I was distracted because I had something that I wanted to ask you before, and we Go ahead. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was distracted.
What
with my own
aspects or what things should a country have that would make it a good place to relocate as a a digital nomad or a nomad worker?
Good food,
For sure.
good party scene,
Okay.
good club scene, good bar scene, popular alcohol, hot people, male, female, hot people, gender nonconforming, non-binary, hot people, all of all sorts.
Okay. How about some more practical
internet.
things, Jared? There we go. That's what I was looking for. Good Wi-Fi
Well,
connection.
you don't think
for
any
sure.
of those things I said were good things?
I think they're good things, but I think in terms of if we're just focusing on the work aspect, which is what I'm focusing on.
I thought you were asking me what I wanted.
Okay.
You made it seem like you're asking me what I wanted. That's what I want.
Okay.
I would say all those things, including the good internet.
Well, yeah, if you're
I
saying
wanna go
goodbye to all
someplace
your
fun.
hoes, Jared, you need that.
If I'm, I can still keep in touch with them. WhatsApp. WhatsApp made it. I'll Venmo you some money. No. If I'm gonna be some sort of nomad or digital nomad, I'm not gonna go someplace boring, Chad.
For sure.
So
that's really important.
So what I'm telling you is, these are practical things I'm saying because
That's
I'm
true,
not going to
you're
go
right.
some place and then just end up in the same suburb that I'm at now with
Right.
a freaking mortgage. Then I was like, well, why did I leave Ferndale? I'm in the suburbs of Bali and I have the same boring life.
Right. No, you are right though. Actually, about like even the party scene and the people, you're 100% right. I was thinking of it too much in like a work kind of mindset, but you're right because when you're not working, you need to be able to enjoy yourself. So
Well,
those things are super important.
What do you look for then, Chad?
Obviously, strong Wi-Fi, as we mentioned. I think like a good climate where you're comfortable at, because like
That's good.
for me personally, if it's super hot and humid, like I don't know if I could live there for a super long time.
And me personally, I have no problem leaving cold Michigan winters in my rearview mirror.
Right.
I'm just here because I have a good. Okay, please, no, please.
Sorry. Another one is just having a good community, whether that be a lot of expats there or just like the locals are friendly and you can, make friends there. Because let's be honest, Jared, if you live your life as a nomad and you don't have any friends, I mean, that's going to be kind of a sad and lonely time.
So you're saying there are places where it's better / easier to make friends. The friends you make are better in certain countries than others. You make better friends in some countries than others.
I don't know if I would say that, but I think just the way culture is in different countries, it might be easier to develop friendships with people, or at least it happens a little faster. Like, for example, when I was in Bali, the people are really, really friendly. I could see it being very easy to have, a tight-knit like circle of friends after a couple months of living there. Whereas, I'll be honest with you, as much as I love the Czech Republic, if you don't speak Czech well enough, unless you're living in Prague, it's going to be very difficult to get like a good group of friends there, just because of the language barrier.
I feel like I remember you telling me a lot that a lot of Czech people would just that you interacted with, I should say, just immediately jump to saying like, oh, I don't really speak English. But then once you sort of forced it out of them a little bit, you realized that their English was perfectly fine to have a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. So I can imagine that makes sense then, that I could see that. Anything else you have?
Yes. Another big one, as I've already said, but I think it's worth saying again, is cheap cost of living. For me, that's really important because I'm not rich. I don't have a trust fund. I don't have a $1 million inheritance. So for me, keep the cost of living as low as possible so I can really get that max enjoyment out of the place where I am.
Do you think for the average nomad has to accept that they're going to be living on a limited budget, just in general, if we talk like statistically speaking? There's a lot more of these nomads that are like living a very paycheck to lifestyle rather than like my YouTube channel has millions of followers and I just really travel around a jet and just rent the same looking Sprinter in every location.
So you bring up a great point, Jared. I think if you have a like a specialized enough skill, or if you have a big enough following for whatever you're doing via blog, YouTube, whatever. I think I would probably argue your average nomad living abroad, especially, I don't know how much it is paycheck to paycheck, but I think they can live comfortably, but they're not crazy rich.
Okay. Yeah, you're convincing me. You know what I was going to mention earlier was about that. One of my concerns as someone that lives in this Western society, this corporate world, is like a long-term savings. Or it's like, well, what happens when you turn whatever age it is, and you're like,
65?
all right, I need to. Is that the age for you?
Well, for what? I was thinking of
You
retirement.
said it. Oh, 65. I hope I retire before 65.
I would like to too.
Okay, so not 65.
Well, that just seems to be in a lot of countries the baseline quote unquote
Sure,
retirement
yeah,
age.
that's like the number that everyone.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
Right.
makes sense.
That's why it came. Yeah.
At whatever age people decide to retire, how is that going to work as someone that has lived their life like that? Can you realistically live your life like that and save sufficiently to not have to work until you're 85?
But let me counter you here, Jared. If you live in a place where the cost of living is really low and you like it there and you stay there, you also don't need as much money to retire. So it's kind of a toss-up. If you want to move back to the States, for example, it's going to be way trickier. I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, you throw in a big factor of how easy or hard it would be to just become a citizen in another country.
Well, I think depending on the country, if you live there long enough, I think you can get citizenship. And in a lot of countries, if you live there, depending on the country, it can be anywhere from 5 to 15 years, you can be eligible for citizenship. And I do know a lot of countries, if you end up meeting somebody over there and you marry a citizen of the country, that can kind of expedite the process as well.
That makes sense. That's just not the lifestyle I'm trying to live, Chad. I'm trying to live more of that digital nomad Monaco lifestyle where I kind of just buy my citizenship as well as a sweet penthouse.
There you go.
That I can retire in. So I think we have different goals, but that's what makes this podcast so beautiful.
That's true. That is true. But for me, as I mentioned, Jared, I mean, the cheap living is a big one. And that's also why I've considered, like I said, if my contract's not extended, I may try out the van life for a little while. Because I've already been applying to some just like remote, jobs where it doesn't matter where you are as long as you're in the U.S. But before we get further into that, I do want to talk about some countries at least where it would be, you mentioned Monaco, which is probably not the best example unless you're rolling in the dough. I've mentioned, obviously, Bali, Indonesia is a really, really big hot spot. This is kind of an oldie but goldie one, Jared, where, I actually met 3 or 4 people while I was in Bali. I met a guy from Egypt. I met a girl from Australia, and I met another girl from Russia, and they were all living there for about half a year at the time. And they were just, kind of doing the digital nomad lifestyle.
They all knew each other, or these were different?
These were different
unrelated?
people. I met them in a couple different places while I was in Bali. But I mean, Bali is a great place because, I mean, if you're into nature, if you like jungles, they have the kind of a more like green kind of jungle area. If you would rather chill on the beach, there's a lot of really beautiful beaches in Bali as well. A really, really great, I don't know how it is now with, everything with COVID, but when I was there kind of before all the shit hit the fan, there were just a great expat community. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because it's a huge party scene. So you'd be happy there, Jared. A nice big party scene. So Bali is one. Another country that can be really, really good for digital nomads as well, especially if you want to do like a backpacking vlog, for example, Jared. I'm going to try to pepper in some examples here and see if I can convince Jared to maybe do the nomad lifestyle with me by the end of today's episode. In Thailand, Jared, is another great country where, once again, from what I've read, the nature's really beautiful. Do you know what the nickname of Thailand is, Jared?
Party city.
The land of smiles. So once again, we talked about, friendly people making friends. From what I've
that
read,
wouldn't work for me then.
Jared won't be happy there. Why are you smiling at me?
I won't be happy because people will be like, "What's wrong with this guy? This guy's not fun. He doesn't like us."
I don't know, Jared. I think
I'm sick of smiling at everyone.
Well, I think if you got over there though, Jared, if you started to maybe feel the vibe, who knows? Maybe it'd change you. No, you don't think so? Okay. Well, Thailand is a good one. The food's great. Crazy parties, cheap prices. So, that's kind of the big allure with Thailand
Crazy
as well.
parties, cheap prices. Is that in the commercials?
That's
Crazy parties, cheap prices.
That's what this. That's
Thailand.
the website I'm reading this from. I guess we should give them credit.
Pure Thailand.
What?
Sorry, I said Pure Thailand. I was thinking of
Pure Michigan?
Maybe that would be. Yeah, I was thinking of what that was their version.
Right. Smiley Thailand, I think, would maybe be their version.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is. I should hit up their.
That's your talent as a marketing extraordinaire for.
There we go.
Tourism marketing extraordinaire, and you're a consultant.
That could be a good blog, dude. Nomad Chat and Smiley Thailand, bro.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta. Yeah, every thumbnail's gonna have your big old smiley face.
I do.
I'm sorry.
Like to smile.
I cannot imagine you running a successful YouTube channel. I've done this podcast for way too long with you to imagine. If I were to see you all of a sudden be like, I'm going to become a digital nomad, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I'm just going to use that to live off of, I'd be like, I mean, okay, good luck. And you started getting like, millions of followers, I'll be like, oh, come on, really? So he really just didn't care about this podcast. He's like, oh, and now he found his real true project. It would hurt my feelings is what I was saying.
That's
so
fair.
even though I'm rooting for Nomad Chat and I want it to work and I want you to succeed, if I see you have a super successful YouTube channel, I'll be like, oh, okay.
You do realize, though, if Nomad...
It'll be good to know that I was the problem.
You do realize, though, if Nomad Chad were to be successful, obviously, I'm not going to stop the Untranslatable podcast.
Oh, I see. You're gonna pick me up and take me under your coattails.
Why do you think I'm trying
Teach
to
me how to
convince
use
you?
Instagram all of a sudden?
Right?
Be like, no, you need to swipe up for the newest episode. It's like Chad knows how to swipe up. Chad doesn't know how to take a picture.
Right? No kidding. Barely learned how to take a selfie like a couple of years ago. Yeah. But yeah, another big one, and you'll kind of see a pattern here, Jared. Another big country for digital nomads as well is Vietnam. So, obviously the pattern is kind of Southeastern, Eastern Asian, Pacific region. But Vietnam, from what I've been reading, I forget the book now. It might have been the 4-Hour Work Week, if I remember correctly. He mentions chilling on a beach in Vietnam and it's a great place for, people to work. But from what I've read, Vietnam seems to be also a booming place for a lot of these kind of digital nomad types, bloggers, vloggers, what have you. I think the coolest thing though, Jared, about all of this is, just having the opportunity to travel and see new places and meet new people and just, try to live life to the fullest. That's a really, really big thing about this kind of nomad lifestyle that kind of draws me to it.
Yeah, I think another way maybe I can consider getting into this nomad life is if I learn how to become a skilled investor of some sort.
Right. Oh, there you go.
And I just invest in all the right companies early.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can have, I could be a digital nomad, have houses in various locations, and just take a jet back and forth. Maybe a yacht if I'm feeling more of that sort of vibe.
Another thing maybe, and I don't know what the laws are, but Airbnbs.
What do you mean the laws?
Like some countries, I know at least when we were in Austria last time, there were some weird things where I guess they couldn't really do only certain places could do Airbnbs. So the laws can change in different countries.
Yeah, but there are other ways to get accommodations, other than Airbnb if that's the situation.
Right.
But yeah, no, I don't see. I can't get behind this nomad life unless I'm making enough money where I'm not. I'd be too stressed. So I'm thinking either I learn a talent, which is not going to happen. I have no skills to offer.
I think you're selling yourself short here.
Or I learn how to invest money, and then just pick the right companies if I really focus on it, and figure it out. And then from there, maybe buy some houses that I rent out, through a company, so I don't have to worry about it. I just get that mailbox money from the rent every month.
Right.
And then I could really see myself making this digital nomad life work. When I have to work, pull out my phone, read the news, buy some stuff, look at the graph, see which direction it's going. All right, I'm going to buy that, sell that. Oh, I got a check from my house in Ferndale. That's nice. And, looks like I just arrived in Bali, so let me crack a beer and scream with some Australians.
Yeah, crack open a nice cold bintang and you're good to go.
Yeah, crack a bintang and scream with some Australians.
Wait. Yeah, there you go. Here's another cool thing though too, Jared, about like countries and being a digital nomad, there's actually a few countries now that are starting to this has become so much of a thing around the world, Jared, that some countries now have been issuing visas. Because see, that's, as I mentioned, visas can be a tricky thing, because if you come to a place on a tourist visa, you have a restriction of how long you can stay there and also what you can do in terms of like work capacity. Like, you know, some countries, if you're there on a tourist visa, I don't think you can actually, and granted, I'm not a lawyer and this is not official legal advice, but, you know, some countries, if you are working over there and you're not on the right visa, like I said, they can deport you. There can be all sorts of different stuff that can happen. But some of
so
these
you're saying
countries,
like even if like it says like as a tourist you're allowed to be here for 3 months, that doesn't mean you're allowed to actively be working and making
Correct.
money.
or
And if,
or at least
granted,
in
they
their
probably
local
wouldn't find
currency.
out. To be fair, they probably wouldn't find out. But how would they find out? How would they know the money that's going into your direct deposit?
That's true. I guess you're right. Well, I was thinking more so if you...
But that I do know those are rules. So if they
Right.
did find out somehow, I could imagine it not being good.
Well, I guess the way that I was thinking it might happen is a lot of times, especially if you're staying in a country for, you know, quite some time, 6 months to a year, it might behoove you to open up a bank account there. And that might be where you could get into some trouble. If you open up a local bank account, they start seeing a lot of money in the local currency coming in via direct deposit from businesses and stuff, then, you know, then they could track that and everything like that. But you're right.
Here's what you got to do. Open up 2 bank accounts. Open up one in the United States. Don't just treat that as a normal bank account. Then open one in local locations. That way, every time you travel and get a new job or have the same job, direct deposit always goes to your centralized American bank account. Direct some miscellaneous PO box to it and just go all green, all digital. Then from there, what you do is you dole out money from that centralized American account into various international accounts depending on what location you're in. You just open new accounts, and then, you know, transfer money as needed from your centralized account. That's how I would do it.
Okay. I don't know if in practice it works that smoothly, but I think it's a great idea. But anyways,
me.
Jared, if you're kind of
Trust
like
me.
me and
It
you
works
want to
that
do things
smoothly.
by the book, Jared,
It works that smoothly.
does it? Okay.
So here's what. Then I hear where you're coming from. Now what you got to do is you're gonna have to change your name.
Can't be
But
Nomad
completely
Chat
legally.
anymore, Jared. Come on.
Brad.
Nomad Brad. Nomad Vlad. If that
Yes.
one gets taken.
I like where your head's at. Yes. See, now what we're going to do is you're going to have to open an account in Russia, which is perfect. And then what we're going to have to do is centralize that account and sync it up with the American account. So we're going to have a 50-50 split. So you're going to put down 2 accounts. You know, when you do direct deposit, they give you lines so you can sort of split over a couple accounts if you want to. We're going to do half Russian, half American. And then what we're going to do is funnel money back and forth between the Russian and American to think that that's a normal relationship. And then on a monthly basis, we'll siphon off some of that, maybe like $25,000 per month into just your local international account in whatever country you're in at that time. That's a good point.
25,000, you're living large. Really large.
Well, listen, Chad, I told you, skilled investor.
That's true. That is true.
I'm talking millions of YouTube followers. These are the sort of lifestyles I've been talking about this whole episode.
That's true.
$25,000 just walking around change. That's the private jet to get me to the new location.
Right. Well, see, for you and I, Jared, I think we have very different nomadic goals and expectations.
I see our research went 2 different directions.
Yes. Very much
and
so.
I think maybe there was a miscommunication somewhere, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We are both digital nomads in our own way, and I think it's beautiful that we can talk about it from multiple different perspectives. I think that's what really helps the listener.
Absolutely. But I do still want to mention these places now that are giving visas to digital nomads, because I think this is awesome.
I did mention one, Monaco.
Really?
We've talked about that. Yeah, you can buy citizenship for like...
Okay, I'm talking about
500,000.
places that will, if you're a normal digital nomad, not an investor with millions in your portfolio. I'm talking
I believe
the average
Gibraltar
person.
was another place that was actually pretty reasonable, like 125 or something like that, 1,000.
Well, once again, I think depending on what country you're coming from, that may not be super attainable.
All right, let's hear your list.
Okay, my first one is Georgia, actually. This is really cool. So Georgia has actually been the first country.
Now listen here.
Not the state, the country, Jared. Not the state, but the country. They were the first country actually to offer a digital nomad visa, which is really cool. So it's been happening for a couple of years now, and Georgia has made great efforts to attract digital nomads from offering free one-year visas. See, there you go, Jared. I like that. Free. I like that.
Yeah.
Free one-year visas to launching initiatives that allow remote workers. Here's also what's really interesting, to allow remote workers. I don't know how you're going to feel about this, Jared. To allow remote workers to share office spaces with Georgian workers. I think that might be kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I think there could be a cool system where it's like you're a digital nomad, you don't make money in our country or from our country's businesses, but you can live here with like a digital nomad tax. So you have to pay an additional however much every tax cycle or whatever, $1,000. You can, $1,000 a year. I'm talking about. So I'm trying to make it reasonable. I'm not being ridiculous. It's just not nothing, but it should be, some amount of money essentially, where it's like, all right, you don't make money in here, but we still get money from you for being here, even though you don't make money from this country's company or whatever, a company in this country, but we'll tax you.
I think that's a great idea, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some complications there, but
right.
I feel like that would something like that.
So here's another one, and I want you to try to guess this one, Jared, and I'm going to help you out. Don't worry. This country is one we've talked about where they have free and accessible Wi-Fi pretty much everywhere. Try to test your memory here.
Latvia. Estonia.
There you go. Yep.
Okay, I knew it was somewhere around there.
Yep. Yeah, so in Estonia, they have a new, it's fairly new, Estonian e-visa, or e-residency, for some to establish a company, and you will pay taxes there. And now with the introduction of the new Estonian digital nomad visa, moving there is easier than ever. The capital, Tallinn, which our buddy, or my good buddy, David, I think I'd call him your buddy as well, since he's been on the podcast a couple of times. David actually visited there and spoke very, very highly of Tallinn, or Tallinn. I'm not sure what the right way to pronounce that is. But there's great medieval architecture, bustling cultural events, and great food. And it's also very affordable. So, and then you have accessible Wi-Fi all over the place, Jared. So, you can be, moving your millions and millions of dollars in your different investment properties and investment companies and funds.
On the go.
Exactly.
No matter where I'm at.
Exactly. Another one, which is really, really interesting as well, Jared, is Croatia. So the digital nomad community in Croatia is actually a little bit more scattered, but there are a lot of great options like Split, Pula, and I think Zadar.
Listen, I'm just going to be fair. Back to Estonia real quick.
Yeah.
I just Googled Estonian food, and you mentioned, delicious food. I'm just going to say that's a subjective comment.
That's fair.
Please continue.
But yeah, so Croatia, there's beautiful beaches in Croatia. Also, cost of living is fairly low as well. And yeah, so Croatia has opened. Now I'm trying to find stuff specifically about the visa. Now, I'm not really seeing much actually about a visa here, but at least it seems like it's beautiful to visit and live at, and there is a digital nomad community there. Now, here's an interesting one, though, Jared. There is now, as of February 2021, there are a slew of countries in the Caribbean or Caribbean, Jared, that are also offering...
I say caramel.
Right? Or, well, not tomato and tomato, because that would be American and British English.
I say apricot.
But so some of these countries in the Caribbean or Caribbean, however the hell you say it, are Barbados, Bermuda, Bahamas, Antigua, and Barbuda, and is it Aguila?
I don't know. I know I've seen them before, and I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
Now here's the one. Well, downside for me, Jared, but upside for you is living in some parts of the Caribbean can be fairly expensive. So for you, that might be great when you have your
that's fine.
Big investment funds. I might write that off.
Things.
But yeah. So I just wanted to mention a couple of those places because I think they're pretty interesting. And I would certainly love to check out some of those. I mean, Georgia would be really sweet. Obviously, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines would be great. Oh, I didn't even mention the Philippines, but that's another one, lower cost of living. Now, I don't know if they have as good of internet connection as you might get in like Bali, for example. But yeah, so now circling back though, Jared, I do want to mention a little bit more about the actual work, because you brought up something that's really, really important, which is you need to have some type of talent. So let's just kind of, to end today's episode, let's kind of go through and kind of list off a couple different types of jobs. Like you mentioned, like obviously YouTuber or a vlogger or an investor could certainly be one. What are some other jobs that you think folks could do in kind of this more nomadic capacity?
You can whore your body out. I think that's a good one. I think that's a great one, actually. That's pretty easy to do anywhere.
Oh God. You're gonna get people sent to jail because I'm pretty sure most of these places prostitution's illegal.
Look up local laws. Don't be a fool about it. Come on.
That's fair.
What else could you do? I'm trying to think. What would be something that would be interesting to me? I could imagine myself being some sort of consultant.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Where it doesn't matter. So maybe I'll fly to a certain location of that company, and I'll present what I can offer, and then then they'd agree, obviously, and then I would just fly back to wherever I want and do the job from wherever whichever location I feel like being in that day.
I think a consultant's a great suggestion, because there's so many different types of consulting you could do. And, I've thought a lot about like doing some type, and I don't know if there's much money in it, but doing some type of education consulting. So I like that idea. That's a good one.
What kind of education consulting what could you do?
So it would be like going over curriculum, lesson plans, activities, teaching practices, stuff like that. And it would be, probably physically going into schools, either doing trainings with teachers or observing teachers, teach their lessons and giving them feedback.
Another one that I think, now this one it would be sort of a challenge financially, and I don't know if I'm okay with that, but it's cool as shit. People respect you. A pilot.
Oh, yeah, but once again, I guess you're a nomad, I guess, theoretically, but I think there's a lot more restrictions, because you can only, unless you're like a baller pilot and you have your own like private piloting company. I think if you're working for a commercial airline.
Who are you talking to, by the way?
That's true. That's true.
What, you think I'm going to be a pilot on Spirit? Is that what you're thinking, Chad?
Orion Air.
Someone's getting duct tape in row 13,
right?
While I'm trying to land in Fort Lauderdale.
My parents, they have $2 million net worth.
Yeah, Spirit doesn't even make that much every year. Okay, shut up and sit down. That's what I say over the. We'll be landing in Fort Lauderdale in 25 minutes, and Blake in row 15. If you don't shut the fuck up, I'm gonna come back there myself, and I'll make you shut up. Now, please enjoy the flight.
I can see myself. Good pilot voice right there.
I think a pilot gig would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would say musician, but I have no talent at all.
Well,
and
musician,
that takes talent,
right? Well, and the thing with musician too is, what are you going to do? Are you going to busk? Like I know some people do that, but that does
Everyone
not
starts
sound like
somewhere. Chad.
True. Yeah, musician I think would be a trickier one, because that's really dependent on, unless you're not only playing gigs, but you might have to like teach on the side. Like that's the tricky thing, is a lot of these nomadic types of jobs. A lot of times, unless you're living in a place where the cost of living is really low and your income is, high enough, it seems like a lot of people have 2 to 3 different types of gigs,
Mm-hmm. Now, I've just been throwing out, do you have any?
Of course.
As well?
Of course.
Let's
I have a
go
bunch
back
of them.
And forth. I have some more too, but please, let's go back and forth.
So a big one now, because of just, being online, doing anything with like copywriting, SEO type of like Google or search engine optimization type of marketing, doing things like Facebook ads, or something like that. Obviously, this is a super obvious one, but being like an influencer, like to promote different products,
it's a good one,
or whatever. Nomad Chad with the Osprey backpack, getting that money from Osprey for promoting their great backpacks.
Yeah. Okay, that is a good one. That is a good one, and I could see you being terrible at that.
You're killing I'm thinking of this as a future for me, Jared, and you're just killing it.
I have one that I think I don't think I'd be good at either, but I think it's a great way to travel the world, and I'm going to say that's a weapons dealer. like an international
What?
weapons
Okay.
dealer. Have you ever seen like the movie War Dogs?
I haven't.
Or have you seen what's that Nicolas Cage movie? What the hell is that Nicolas Cage movie?
He's been in so many movies, dude. I have no idea.
Lord
which
of
one.
War. Lord of War.
Okay.
That's what it
Nope.
is. Okay. Well, it seems like a very accessible lifestyle. At least War Dogs made it seem very accessible. There are various lists where the government. This is from a movie, by the way. I don't know if this is true. Where the government will, like contract out smaller weapons purchases from more like there's some sort of
Independent
equal
contractors, right?
opportunity. Yeah, exactly. And so if you can find them, source them, travel the world, see a lot of cool Eastern European countries, a lot of cool, a lot of cool Middle Eastern countries.
Right.
And I think that would be a great way to travel the world and kind of have your own schedule as well.
Sure.
So I'm going to throw that out there. And some people find guns cool. Not my thing, but I guess I get it.
Right. Well, but even being a weapons dealer doesn't mean it has to be guns. It could be
It's true. Explosives, grenades.
knives. I was thinking too, but I was thinking
Knives,
smaller,
yeah.
smaller scale.
Okay. Yeah,
But-
okay.
But yeah, but
Sure.
but
Tanks. Oh, smaller. Sorry, smaller.
badass Humvees and stuff. Now that would be fun. That would be cool.
Yeah, with like a big 50 cal sticking out the back.
Right.
No, smaller. Sorry, I'm a weapons dealer, Chad. This is just how my brain works as a weapons
the
dealer.
thing you did mention though is, I mean, doing independent contract work is, I think, another really good type of way to
Yeah.
maybe get your foot in the nomadic door.
All right, I got a good one.
Okay.
How's your card playing skills?
Oh, I'm terrible.
Poker playing.
Online
bro.
poker playing?
Blackjack.
Oh yeah.
Online, in person, hit up some hot spots. I go from Monaco to Vegas, to I don't know, what's another place people like to gamble. I go to these gambling hot spots and I really just clean up. But really, people don't realize that I'm just counting cards, which is not illegal, I've learned. So that's another one.
Okay.
Like some sort of gambler of some sorts. That would be dope, dude.
That would-
Casino Royale.
that would
For all
be
you know,
crazy.
James Bond sitting across from you. You're just trying to win some money for the night. Well, James Bond's like, I'm going to kill the guy sitting next to you. And you're like, listen, I'm just trying to win because, I need this. I'm a
And see,
digital
once
nomad.
you develop one of those
Card
skills,
nomads.
Jared, you can like we've already talked about consulting, so this will be a little bit similar. Also, like doing something like being a life coach, or even as much as I hate a
Yes.
lot of these guys and gals, is dating coaches.
I
mean,
love
you could
where
do
your
a
head's
dating
at.
coach, being a dating coach anywhere.
I love where your head's at. I honestly think it might work better being a foreigner.
What, being a dating coach?
Any sort of like inspirational like guru or like
Right.
I think it might be better. I saw a documentary many years ago. I don't remember what it's. Oh, I'm Not Your Guru, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And it was just some random American dude, but I think he had. So I think he was Indian, like he had some just Indian background. That's what his parents and family or whatever. And he just sort of dressed up as this guru, and people started following him, and he got like a legitimate following. And he was just doing it all as like an experiment for this documentary.
That's
and
crazy.
He just pretended to be a guru, and people started following him. So yeah, and then eventually he told them, and some people got really mad. Some people kept following him.
Right.
No, he's still a genius. Do you have any other ones that would interest you?
Well, the big one is super obvious, Jared, but just language teacher. I mean, you can,
yes.
especially with online now, I mean, you can do that basically anywhere. Now, once again, the tricky thing is, do you go with a company or do you go independent? And when you go independent, all the onus is on you. And I can tell you right now, I just personally don't have the marketing skills and all the other skills it would take kind of in the back office to really make that run. You know what I mean? So I personally would probably go with a company, but once again, if you go with a company, that could also put some limitations on where you can and cannot be. But if you do the independent route, then you're free to go and do whatever, live wherever you want. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
true.
I'm so glad though, Jared, you brought up the point of it's super important, regardless of, if you want to try out the nomad, digital nomad lifestyle, in the U.S. or abroad, to have some type of marketable skill, whether it be a writer, marketing, advertising, maybe investing as well, as you've mentioned. There's a lot of different things. One
Arms
thing, though,
dealer.
too, that is interesting in terms of nomadic work that I don't think you and I would, either of us would be open to, but I do follow a couple van lifers who do this, is seasonal work. So if you're super into like camping and nature, there's all sorts of different things you can do seasonally, at least I know of in the US, where you can travel like out west or go somewhere. You might have to work, like out in the fields all day long, but it would be enough to at least pay your bills. I know some people also work as like a campsite host, or they work for like the state parks or do something like that. So that's another way if you, go ahead.
What about like an au pair? Take care of some kids.
Once again, then I'm thinking these seasonal gigs are more if you're really trying to move around. If you're an au pair, it's great if you want to have that home base in one spot.
For like
but
a
once
year
again,
or two, yeah.
As an au pair, you won't have that flexibility if, unless your family is really cool and they're like, oh yeah, go ahead and take the weekend off and go see this place.
I think you're expected to get vacation as an au pair. I think they allow. I don't think you're expected to be on the clock 24/7.
Right. Well, I know that. I know it's not 24/7.
The au pair system expects you to give your au pair some time off at some point.
As they should.
Sure. Yeah, because it is a normal job. But yeah, no, that's true. You don't have the freedom to just like explore, definitely.
Right.
But it is a good opportunity for you to just go and live in a different country for a bit.
Exactly. I tell you what, though, man, this episode's got me excited. I do like that Nomad Chad title. That has a great ring to it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And if I have to go Jason Bourne, we got two other options with Nomad Brad and Nomad Vlad.
I really like Nomad Vlad.
That's pretty cool.
And it really works with my whole banking idea to have the Nomad Vlad and Chad. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Would you be willing to properly learn Russian? Because just imagine if you had a Nomad Chad and Vlad
Da,
YouTube channel and you kind of just do the exact same videos but in English and Russian. That'd be very impressive.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I'm wondering, is there a German-speaking name that's similar to Chad? Well, they don't have that sound. Nomad, Chad. Yeah, that wouldn't quite work.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, anyways, let us know some of your favorite either nomadic, digital, or otherwise spots or jobs at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into those DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number one. Also, check us out on Instagram and YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast. And please, 5-star reviews on iTunes. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. I like it though, man. Nomad Chad. I might have to go change my Insta handle like right now. I know it's already taken. Can I do like an underscore?
Yeah, there's probably something.
Or Nomad Chad, maybe?
Yeah, I didn't do that much research into it, but all I saw was Nomad Chad, nothing in between, Nomad Chad, period. So you could still try dash, underscore, or
Nomad Chad official.
Yes.
Dude, I'm going to change that right now.
The real Nomad Chad.
That is hilarious. Oh, man. All right. I got to figure... See, once again, Jerry, I'm so bad with social media. I got to figure out how to actually do that.
By the time you figure out how to do it, they're all going to be taken.
Right? All right. How do we... I got to figure this out now.
Nomad Chad. Yeah, I don't know.
It has a great ring to it, dude.